Okay, hello. This is the start of video 3 for the January 2020 paper 2, the R paper, walking, talking, mock. Okay, this is video 3 of 9 in total. Remember, we're tackling all the shorter questions first, and then we're going to do the 6, the 9 and the 12 mark questions in the later videos. So in this particular video, we are looking at question 3, parts A, B and C, and then part A for question 4. So without further ado, let's go to the exam paper. So 3A was the first one we were going to look at here. The question is, which one of the following policies is the most likely to reduce the rate of inflation? So let's just remember that inflation is an increase in the average price of goods and services. Okay, so what's going to reduce price levels within the economy? Okay, so the answer to this one is in actual fact D. And that is because higher taxation. Now we know taxation, increasing or decreasing taxation, is a type of fiscal policy because it is carried out by the government. So if they increase taxation, consumers will then have to pay more tax, and therefore they will have less disposable income. With less disposable income, consumers will then demand less goods and services, and as a result, price levels will fall, and there will be a decrease in the rate of inflation. So the answer is D. The next question. In an exchange rate system with no government intervention, a decrease in the exchange rate is known as, well, it says no government intervention. Okay, so this is quite key. No government intervention. So we already know from a previous question that it can't be devaluation and it can't be revaluation because that involves the government intervening to increase or decrease the value of the exchange rate. So we're looking at, so it's either got to be appreciation or depreciation. So because the question says in an exchange rate system with no government intervention, a decrease in the exchange rate is known as a depreciation. An increase in the exchange rate would be known as appreciation, but the answer is C. The next question. In 2018, the annual rate of inflation in Egypt was 16% in September and 17.7% in October. So this is, we take the 17.7 and we take away 16, this is a 1.7% increase in price levels. That means the price of goods and services in Egypt has increased. It costs more money. The question is, explain one likely impact of this change in inflation on the current account of the balance of payments for countries such as Egypt. Now let's just remember that the balance of payment, the current account of the balance of payments, records imports and exports. So the question is asking you, what is an impact of an increase in price levels on the current account? What impact does it have on imports and exports? Well, we know that prices, let's just remove this. We know that the average prices in Egypt have increased by 1.7%. Okay, and therefore, what does this mean? Well, this means that prices are more expensive. Goods and services are more expensive in Egypt. So as a result, consumers in Egypt will demand less products from firms in Egypt because it's going to cost them more money, 1.7% more, and will demand, in fact, let me just take that back. Okay, so consumers in Egypt will demand less products from firms in Egypt. And as a result, consumers will import more cheaper products from overseas. And as a result, imports increase. And if imports increase, the current account will worsen. Okay. Another way you can look at this is that if prices increase, consumers and firms from overseas will import less from Egypt. Therefore, Egypt's exports will decrease because their prices are not so competitive on a global scale because they have increased. So therefore, demand from overseas for Egypt's products will decrease, exports would decrease, and this would also worsen the current account. Let's have a little look at the mark scheme for this particular question. So there we go. One impact is a fall in demand for Egyptian exports. Inflation of 17.7% makes domestic goods more expensive. Domestic goods, what does that mean? That means home goods. That means the goods produced within the home country of Egypt, domestic goods. So other countries may not buy Egyptian goods, resulting in a deficit on the current account, or it would result in the current account worsening. And let's look at the import argument. So one impact is an increase in imported goods. Inflation of 17.7% makes imports appear cheaper than Egyptian goods and services. So consumers within Egypt would prefer to purchase imports, therefore a negative impact on the current account. The current account, like we said before, would worsen. Okay, let's go back to the exam paper. And the next question, the last question for this video, is this one here, 4A. Figure 2A shows the UK's unemployment rates for 16 to 64-year-olds in different regional areas in December 2018. So here you can see, here's the different regions, and then you've got the unemployment rate. Okay, so in the east of England, the unemployment rate is 4.3. So calculate, and this is really important, it says calculate to 2 decimal places the average rate of unemployment in the UK in December 2018. You are advised to show your working. So we are looking for the average of these 5 figures here. So it's really wise to show your working out. In case you don't get the complete answer, you may get some of the answer for partially calculating the answer correctly. So you add up all of those and you will divide it by 5. So you're allowed a calculator in the exam. So I'm going to do that on my calculator now. So you've got 4.8 plus 4.6 plus 4.3 plus 2.9 plus 3, and that gives me 19.6, and then we have to divide that by 5 because there are 5 different regions, and I get 3.92, And remember, we need to include the percentage and 2 decimal places, okay? And also it's good practice to underline the answer twice. Let's just check the mark scheme. Let's just see if we've carried out the calculation correctly. Question 4B. 4A, sorry, there we go. And there you can see 3.92%. So the examination board are awarding 1 mark for the calculation. So there's the calculation, and another mark for the answer. Okay. You can the examiners would also award 2 marks if the average percentage of 3.92 is accurately calculated with no work-ins. However, only 1 mark is awarded if the candidate gives an answer of 3.92 without the percentage sign. Okay, no marks are awarded for the formula. Okay, that concludes video 3 of the walking talking mock for paper